In the previous video, we started working with our first onCollisionEnter event. And by the end of the video, I turned this back to restarting the level, but I thought I would show you one extra layer of things, just a deeper understanding of collider events, and I'll show you one more new type here. So what I've gone and done is reverted back to this bounce off, where we have our X and our Z position bouncing with the Y it being thrown into the air. So we have some randomized X and Z bounces with our Y being kind of always the same, so that I have some kind of randomization to how I'm thrown back. And what I'm going to do this time is actually consider the ground itself, because what I found when I play tested last time is that when I bounce into the air, it's way too easy to just kind of put myself back onto the world, and I forgot to do the actual force in outside of the playtesting, which actually allows me to have that memorized. So right now, I bounce, but I can just kind of get myself controlled and back. And that doesn't feel punishing enough for me. So what I can do is actually add another tag to my ground. And I'm going to call this ground. So I'm going to add a new tag called ground. Click back on my ground and tag it as ground. And now if I go back into my code, I'm going to do some editing here so that I can actually have this detect whether or not I'm on the ground at any given point in time. So what I'm going to have it do here is in my onCollisionEnter, have another check. And this time I'm going to say if my colliders tag equals ground. So if I collide with the ground, because the thing is that I'm actually colliding with the ground when I land on it. And what I want this to do here is actually change the state of something up here. I'm just going to add in a private bool, stands for Boolean, on ground. And what I'm going to say is that if I collide with the ground, on ground equals true. Nice and easy and straightforward. The problem is this. How do I set on ground to false? Because this only triggers on a collision enter when the collision is triggered. Do I have the ability to trigger something when I stop touching something else, when the colliders detach? The answer is most definitely. On collision exit. Notice how it auto-completes that really beautifully. This will be triggered if I stop touching, or if the colliders stop touching one another. So I can actually just kind of copy and paste this code here. If the collider tag is ground, on exit, I want this to be set to false. Just to help make this really obvious, I'm going to debug and log this as on ground, and I'm going to debug log this as in air. So we have our collision for hitting the ground, and then our exit case for when we leave the ground. And let's see if that gets logged in the console. So when we first start, I dropped ever so slightly and touched the ground. And now when I bump in the air, on ground gets triggered again. Notice the message popped up 2 times. So when this game, let's actually uncollapse this so we really see, and clear this and restart. I begin in the air, but it doesn't get triggered as a collision leave because I didn't actually first collide with the ground. So first on ground gets triggered, next in air gets triggered, and then bounce, on ground gets triggered again. In air, I got thrown off this time, on ground. So now I am able to actually store the state of being in the air or on the ground, and I can take advantage of this because I am able to control my inputs always. But what if I only controlled them when I'm on ground? If on ground, manage inputs. What I've just done is basically this. Disable input if in air, making it a lot more punishing if I hit one of these, well, this one obstacle so far. Because when I hit it, I'm mashing my keyboard, I have no control, and I bounce again. Okay, got lucky. But if I hit it here, it tosses me. I can't do anything. I just get tossed and have to restart. I try to go around here. I clip it. And this gives me some kind of interesting gameplay, at least I find, where sometimes if I nick it, oh, I get a bit lucky, and oh, it's going to bounce me. Oh, and am I going to survive? Not quite. Oh, let's try again. And if I nick it, this time I got lucky and I stayed on. That kind of feels kind of fun to have a chance to not die if I touch something. Maybe it's for an easier mode. And of course, this level is a little bit too simple right now. In the next tutorial, we're going to add some more obstacles and a spawner, moving towards our final part of our tutorials where we'll have an actual win state in multiple levels.